In a future Chicago, people are divided into groups based on their personalities and skills. These groups are called factions, and everyone must choose one to belong to. The city is surrounded by a big wall to keep everyone safe from the dangers outside. There are 5 factions. Abnegation, where people are kind and always thinking of others. Amity, where people love peace and getting along. Candor, where people value honesty above all. Dauntless, where brave and fearless folks protect the city. And erudite, where knowledge and learning are the most important things. Those who don't fit into any faction are called the factionless, and they don't have the same rights or a place in society. Beatrice Pryor was born in abnegation, which means her family is all about helping others and making sure the city runs smoothly. Her dad, Andrew, is an important leader in the government, working with Marcus Eaton, who is like the boss of abnegation. In the world of Tris, when kids turn 16, they take a special test. This test helps them find out which group they belong to, but they can still choose a different group if they want. Tris and her brother Caleb go to take the test and get ready in their own rooms. Tris meets a brave lady named Tori who will give her the test. Tori is from the Dauntless group, known for their courage. Tris takes the test and faces many challenges to learn about her true self. Tris's test results reveal something unique. She has equal attributes from 3 factions: abnegation, erudite, and dauntless. This makes her divergent, a rare and special trait. Tori, wanting to protect Tris, records her result as abnegation. She warns Tris that divergents are seen as a threat by the government because they can think independently and sense serums. Beatrice and her family enjoy a dinner together, chatting about their aptitude test results. Her parents, Andrew and Natalie, share their concerns about the erudite faction, who want to be in charge and are trying to make abnegation look bad. Beatrice's brother Caleb gives her some advice. He tells her that when she chooses a faction, she should think about what's best for their family, but also what's right for herself. At the choosing ceremony the next day, they come across Janine Matthews, the leader of Erudite. She encourages Beatrice to choose the faction that truly represents her identity and where she feels she belongs. As the 16-year-olds take their turns, some decide to leave their original factions. Caleb picks Erudite, while Beatrice, after some hesitation, selects Dauntless. After the ceremony, Beatrice dashes with the Dauntless toward the train tracks. They sprint to catch the train, barely making it on board. There, Beatrice meets Christina and Al from Candor and Will from Erudite. They leap from the moving train to a rooftop where they meet Eric, their stern Dauntless leader. Eric warns them that those who can't meet the faction's tough standards will end up factionless. Beatrice bravely volunteers to jump from a tall building into a dark hole and lands safely in a net. As Tris reaches the bottom, she encounters 4, the instructor for the transfer initiates. When asked for her name, she opts for Tris, shedding her previous identity. Led by 4, the transfer initiates are guided to the pit, the bustling heart of Dauntless life. Following this, they're led to a dormitory where they'll spend the next 10 weeks. After changing into their Dauntless attire, they ceremoniously burn their old clothes in a communal fire. Once dressed and settled, the initiates head to the cafeteria for a meal. There, they are warmly greeted by Max, the esteemed leader of Dauntless. The following morning, they're roused early to convene at the pit once more. Here, 4 lays out the structure of their training, explaining the 2 distinct stages, physical and mental. It's made clear that while the transfer initiates undergo their training separately from those born into Dauntless, their rankings will ultimately be combined. These rankings will dictate the roles they'll assume within the faction. Eric announces a new rule. The lowest ranking initiates will face the risk of becoming factionless. Tris initially struggles in Dauntless training, falling well below the cutoff after the first evaluation. However, with 4's guidance, she gradually improves. One day during training, Tris confronts Eric, earning praise from her fellow transfer initiates for her bravery. Meanwhile, Peter, a Candor transfer, comes across news about Tris and Caleb's switch from abnegation. As Tris, Chris, Al, and Will stroll through Dauntless headquarters, they spot Janine. Puzzled by her presence, Will speculates that Janine might be hunting for divergence, as it has been a hot topic of discussion lately. The following day, Eric pits Tris against Peter in a fight, resulting in Tris being soundly defeated and knocked unconscious. Upon waking up, she finds Chris and Will by her side. Will sadly informs Tris that she's been eliminated from Dauntless. Refusing to miss the crucial capture the flag test, Tris leaves the infirmary and joins the other initiates as they rush to catch the train. 4 and Eric are appointed as team leaders, with 4 choosing Tris first for his team. As they strategize, Tris climbs an abandoned Ferris wheel to scout for the enemy flag's location. With her quick thinking, she secures victory for her team, ultimately earning her place in Dauntless. The following day, as the Dauntless assist Amity in loading their trucks, Tris encounters her mother, Natalie. In a moment of urgency, Natalie warns her daughter about the danger she's in in, advising Triss to keep her divergent status a secret, as the erudite are actively hunting them down. In the next phase of training, the initiates confront their deepest fears through psychological simulations. During Triss's first simulation, she finds herself immersed in the hallucination for an astounding 3 minutes, 4 times faster than the average. Thanks to her divergence, Triss is able to creatively navigate and conquer the tests. Later, Triss learns from Tori that her brother was also divergent. Tori reveals that he was discovered to be divergent and subsequently eliminated following his psychological test. Triss pays a visit to Caleb, confiding in her brother about her troubles. She expresses her feelings of not fitting into Dauntless, but Caleb reveals that abnegation is facing its own challenges. He divulges Erudite's plan to overthrow abnegation, adding to Triss's worries. Upon her return, Triss is ambushed by Al, Peter, and another transfer named Drew. Before things escalate further, Four intervenes, coming to her rescue. He takes Triss to his room and tends to her injuries. Triss is deeply hurt by Al's betrayal, but Four offers insight, explaining that fear has driven Al to act in what he believes is the best course, especially as Al's standing within the faction begins to decline in ranks. The next day, Triss confides in Four about Caleb's warning regarding Erudite's plot against abnegation. Al pleads for Triss's forgiveness, but she refuses, labeling him a coward. Later, Triss witnesses Al's final appearance in the chasm, consumed by shame. Triss opens up to Four about her doubts regarding passing the upcoming test, knowing that Four understands the reason behind her uncertainty. Together, they enter the simulation room, where Four decides to share his own fear simulations with Triss. In his deepest fear, Triss finds herself in abnegation, where Four reveals his true identity as Tobias Eaton. He recounts the abuse he suffered at the hands of his father, Marcus, during his childhood. After spending quality time together, Triss and Four find themselves developing feelings for each other. The following day, Four reveals to Triss a secret part of the building where Erudite has been supplying Dauntless with resources. As they prepare for their final testing, Four advises Triss to conceal her true abilities and solve the tests as any ordinary Dauntless would. He warns her that Divergents, like herself, have the ability to manipulate tests and serums. Despite the challenge, Triss successfully passes her test and officially becomes a member of Dauntless. Following her initiation, Triss and her fellow initiates are instructed to undergo an injection with a serum provided by Erudite, purportedly for tracking purposes as a precautionary measure. The next morning, Triss awakens to the bustling sounds of her fellow new Dauntless members getting ready. However, she quickly notices something unsettling. The serum injected into them is actually meant for mind control. As the hypnotized Dauntless fall into line, Triss realizes that the serum fails to affect Divergents like herself. One individual stands out among the controlled masses, but Eric swiftly eliminates the threat. To avoid suspicion, Triss blends in with the crowd. Triss watches in horror as the brainwashed Dauntless prepare to carry out Erudite's orders to execute members of abnegation. On the train, Triss reconnects with Four, who reveals that he also identifies as Divergent. As the Dauntless prepare to attack abnegation, Triss and Four break away from the group in an attempt to find her parents. Eric attempts to shoot Four, but Triss intervenes, getting shot in the process. They are both captured. During their capture, Janine discovers that both Triss and Four are divergent. She orders Four into custody and condemns Triss to execution. However, Triss's mother unexpectedly appears and saves her daughter. Together they flee, and Triss learns that her mother was once part of Dauntless. Their escape is interrupted by the arrival of Will, a friend from Triss's past. Triss tries to reason with him, but he is unable to resist the mind control. Triss is forced to take action, ultimately resulting in Will's demise. As they attempt to flee, Natalie is fatally shot. With no other choice, Triss leaves her mother behind as she makes her escape. Triss locates her father hiding with Caleb, Marcus, and other abnegation members. She explains to them that the Dauntless are unwittingly under the control of Erudite. Triss, Caleb, Marcus, and Andrew sneak into Dauntless headquarters using the same route Triss took on her first day. Along the way, they encounter Peter, whom Triss coerces into leading them to Erudite's control center. During their mission, Triss's father sacrifices himself in a shootout to buy her time. Determined to press on, Triss decides to proceed alone to find Four. Upon entering the central control room, she discovers monitors and cameras showing the fear-stricken abnegation members controlled by the Dauntless. Triss locates Four, who is now under stronger mind control designed for Divergence. She attempts to free him from the chair. Janine elaborates on the brilliance of the faction system explaining that conformity to a faction eliminates the risk of individuals acting independently. Divergence, however, pose a threat to this system. Understanding Four's fears, Triss manages to break him free from the mind control. Now liberated, Four turns against the people working for Erudite, taking action to thwart their plans. Together, Triss and Four storm the central control room, where Janine is on the brink of ordering the execution of the entire abnegation faction. Unable to convince Janine to shut down the program voluntarily, Triss and Four resort to using a sample of the mind control serum on her, compelling her to deactivate and erase the program. As a result, the mind control Dauntless members snap out of their hypnosis and Janine regains consciousness. As the erudite leader attempts to attack Triss, she fights back, managing to knock her out. Together, Four and Triss exit the control room, where they encounter Four's father, Marcus, waiting outside. Four warns them that they must flee, as their enemies are still a threat. The group manages to escape the compound and boards a train out of the complex. Despite now being factionless, Triss realizes that they have found themselves and each other in the midst of the chaos and danger. Together, they move forward, determined to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Here we go, entering the second part of this movie series. Triss, Four, and their friends sought refuge with the peaceful Amity faction, but their pleas for help fell on deaf ears. One of them, Chris, accused Triss of causing the deaths of Will and her parents. Distraught, Triss retreated, only to realize it had all been a nightmare. As she awoke, Triss made a bold decision, cutting her hair in a symbolic act of moving forward. She concealed her lingering fears from Four, assuring him that everything was fine. Meanwhile, Eric presented Janine with a mysterious box said to be capable of destroying Divergence. Intriguingly, only a Divergent could open it. Janine dispatched her forces in pursuit of these unique individuals. After finishing their chores in Amity, Marcus went to talk to Triss and Four about a treasure Triss's mother had hidden in abnegation. But Triss and Four didn't want to listen to him. At breakfast, Peter told Caleb that Janine had wrongly accused them of the killings in abnegation, making them fugitives. Triss suggested they should kill Janine, but Four said they weren't ready and should stay hidden in Amity for now. Peter mocked Triss, saying she could go alone so she wouldn't put others in danger like she did with her parents. Angry, Triss attacked Peter, pinned him down with the table, and held a knife to his throat. Four quickly stopped her, and Amity's leader Johanna called them to her office. She told them they had to leave because they broke Amity's no violence rule. Four pleaded for more time to find the remaining Dauntless members before they left. Triss warned Johanna that if she didn't stand up to Janine, Janine would take away her leadership, just as she was doing with the other faction leaders. Johanna advised Triss to forgive herself and heal from the pain of her parents' deaths. As they were talking, Janine's men broke into Amity. Johanna rushed to meet them, leaving Triss and the others to hide in her office. Eric demanded to screen the Amity members for Divergence. Johanna gathered everyone in the hall but stayed near the front of her office. Eric grew suspicious and entered the office, but Four saw him coming and told the others to split up. Peter then called out to Eric, offering to give them up. Triss, Four, and Caleb had to jump out of a window and run towards the forest, with Eric and his men chasing and shooting at them. They reached a moving train and managed to get inside, where they encountered the factionless. The factionless accused them of invading their space. Caleb tried to calm them down, but they became angrier and attacked. Triss and Four fought back while Caleb hid. Triss was attacked while looking out for Caleb, but Four came to her aid. After the fight, everyone calmed down, and the factionless took Four and the others with them. When they reached the factionless, Four addressed a woman as his mother, shocking Triss and Caleb. Four's mother explained that his father was very abusive, and the only way she could escape was to fake her own death. She was too young to take Four with her when she left. She had contacted him a year ago to propose an alliance between the factionless and Dauntless to overthrow Janine. This idea intrigued Triss, but Four warned Triss that his mother only wanted to replace Janine as the ruler. His mother then revealed that the other Dauntless were hiding with Candor and tried to persuade Triss to join her plans. Four refused and stormed off, with Triss following him. He apologized for not telling her about his mother earlier and promised that there would be no more secrets between them. Later that night, Triss was jolted awake to find Four's mother sitting on their bed. She told Triss that Four would soon realize how dangerous Triss was and leave her. Then Triss saw Will's dead body beside her and woke up from the nightmare. The next morning, on their way to Candor, Caleb told Tris that he was returning to Abnegation to find where he fit in. When they arrived at Candor, they saw the others, including Christina and Tori, the woman who had helped Tris with her faction test. Christina asked if Tris had heard anything from Will, and Tris said she hadn't. Suddenly, Tris and Four were captured and taken to Candor's leader, Jack Kang, who informed them that they would be handed over to Erudite because of the war they had started in Abnegation. Four pleaded for them to use truth serum on them. He promised that if they were guilty, they could be turned in. Four was given the serum, and he told the Candors how Janine started the war by using a simulator on the Dauntless, which Tris helped him escape from. He also confessed that he had thought about leaving Dauntless when he found out about the corruption. But he fell in love with Tris and stayed with her. The Candors thanked him for being honest. Then it was Tris's turn. She was asked why she wasn't affected by the simulation. Tris revealed that she's divergent. When asked if she hurt anyone during the crisis, she admitted to killing her parents and Will. The Candors thanked her for being truthful, but Tris stormed off, feeling overwhelmed by her confession. Chris was angry with Tris for killing Will, and Tris was upset with Four for making her take the serum. Meanwhile, Janine was harnessing power from a divergent found in Amity, but the divergent died during the process. Determined to find a stronger divergent, she sent her men out to search. Tris found herself on the rooftop with a fellow Dauntless, Uriah, who believed there was life beyond their fence. Suddenly, Janine's men stormed in, shooting indiscriminately. Tris fell with other women down the stairs, but soon woke up, realizing they were shooting sleeping people under the influence of a simulation, which didn't affect her. Uriah, unaffected as well, joined her in seeking weapons when Eric and his men discovered them. Tris and the other awake individuals were restrained, and Eric shouted out their levels of divergence. He killed a man with 10% and was about to harm a little girl with 40% when Tris intervened, though she was hindered by being tied up. Another man screened Tris and discovered she was 100% divergent, prompting him to stop Eric from harming her. They were about to take Tris away when Four and other Dauntless attacked, rescuing Tris. Eric warned them that Janine would stop at nothing to find Tris, and in a fit of anger, Four shot him dead. Four expressed gratitude to Kang for his hospitality and declared to the other Dauntless that they would join forces with the Factionless to confront Janine. They all relocated to the Factionless's territory. Meanwhile, Janine learned that Tris was 100% divergent. She summoned Peter and enlisted his help in devising a plan to capture Tris, with the promise of a position in her army. At the same time, the sleeping serum was activated in Chris and two others. They were compelled to move towards the edge of a cliff, threatening to jump unless Tris was surrendered. Tris and another person rushed to intervene. Chris and one of the others were saved, but tragically the third person fell and perished. They discovered that the simulant was attached to a major artery, meaning removing it would result in fatalities, and Janine could manipulate those affected by it. Frustrated, the Factionless demanded Tris be surrendered to Janine. However, Four and the other Dauntless disagreed, refusing to hand her over. Four urged Tris not to surrender herself, promising they would find a way to deactivate the simulant. The next morning, Tris left while Four was still asleep, unnoticed by his mother. She voluntarily turned herself into Erudite and was brought before Janine. Peter held her at gunpoint, revealing their plan to extract the simulations from individuals of all factions to unlock a mysterious box, bearing a message from their founders. Finding Janine behind glass, Tris overpowered Peter, took his gun, and threatened to harm herself unless Janine came to her. However, Caleb intervened, taking the gun from Tris and aligning himself with Janine. Janine promised to halt the suicides if she could access the information, so she stepped on a disc and initiated the simulation. Tris found herself amidst chaos, with her mother trapped in a burning house. After a strenuous effort, she managed to save her mother, completing the Dauntless simulation. Tris then expressed to her mother her wish that she wasn't divergent, believing that they might still be together if that were the case. The Candor simulation was also successfully completed. Four and the Dauntless barged into the room, defeating everyone inside. Four saved Tris, who asked him how he got past security. He reminded her of a conversation they had on Candor's rooftop, using words from that moment. Tris then realized that he wasn't real and that she was still in the simulation. She managed to pass and complete the Erudite simulation. Janine was satisfied that only the Amity simulation remained to be completed, as Tris had already passed abnegation when she refused to harm Peter during the earlier confrontation. Tris's vital signs were high, so they allowed her to rest for a while. While Tris was resting, Caleb approached her and revealed that their parents had hidden the message from the founders, ultimately leading to their own demise. Tris was then summoned to complete the simulation. On her way out, she saw Four locked up, which enraged her. Peter injected her with something, and Janine aggravated her further by suggesting that her mother's death was in vain, since Janine still obtained what she was protecting. In a fit of fury, Tris broke free from the simulation disc, shattered the glass to attack Janine, and then the buildings began to collapse. Tris fell to the ground within the simulation and ultimately died in reality. Tris was brought to Four, who was upset. He confronted Peter and pinned him to the wall. Suddenly, Tris woke up and Peter signaled Four to fight Janine's men who were there. Four and Peter fought the men. Then Peter confessed to Four how he stole a drug from the infirmary, which he used to make Tris pass out when she was getting too worked up about Four. Tris insisted on taking a box with her because her mother had kept it safe, indicating its importance. Tris figured out a way to remove the simulation discs from all the Dauntless, so they got ready to go to Erudite. Four pleaded with Peter to help them gain access to the lab, proposing that they fight their way inside. Once inside, Janine and her men were alerted to the breach, and her army headed towards the lab. Tris begged Four to let her access the message in the lab, so Four stood guard at the door while Tris continued the simulation. In the simulation, Tris encountered a violent version of herself, but she chose not to fight back. She then successfully completed the Amity simulation. Janine's men barged in, wanting to harm Tris, but Janine intervened and prevented them. They accessed the message, and one of the founders appeared. The founder explained that the factions were created as an experiment. When conflict arose outside, they sought people who embraced the values of all factions, the divergent. These individuals were considered a success in the experiment. The founder also mentioned that life still existed beyond the walls, and they could join whenever they felt ready. Janine ordered her men to bury the box and eliminate Tris and Four. However, the Dauntless and factionless army arrived and arrested Janine and her key allies, including Caleb, for distributing the information from the founders to all the factions. They then moved towards the wall fence. From her prison cell, Janine gazed out and remarked that it had been 200 years since the founders delivered the message. She speculated that life beyond the walls might no longer exist. At that moment, Four's mother, Evelyn, shot her. And that wraps up this chapter of the movie series. But don't go too far, because there's still one more part left to unfold. Here we go, entering the third part of this movie series. Four's mom, Evelyn, locked the wall down tight and made sure no one could get out. They had a trial for someone who helped Janine. Tris didn't want to be one of the leaders. Eric's friend was the first to be questioned, and they gave him truth serum. He admitted he didn't feel sorry for killing people when Janine was in charge. Then everyone started shouting that he should be killed too. Evelyn agreed, so they did it right away. Johanna and a few others didn't like how things were happening. There weren't any more groups or order left. Evelyn asked Four to convince Tris to join the leadership, but Four refused, saying he couldn't make Tris do something she didn't want to. He warned Evelyn that Tris was acting like Janine, or even worse, and told her to sort things out. Four suggested to Tris that leaving the safety of the wall might not be a good idea with all the violence happening outside, but Tris thought it could benefit the city in the long run. Four pretended he wanted to deal with Caleb himself and went to get him from the prisoners, following Tris's plan. Caleb appreciated Tris's idea. Chris showed up with a transfer schedule for Caleb, allowing them to open the gate. One of the prison guards informed Edgar, Evelyn's right-hand man, that Four had taken Caleb out of prison. Edgar and his men went after them, with orders to kill if they couldn't capture them alive. Tris, Four, Caleb, Peter, Chris, and Tori reached the wall, but found out that Evelyn had live wires and her men were shooting at them. Tris dashed towards the vehicle they arrived in, while Four returned fire to cover her. Tris placed a bomb on the vehicle and they ran back. The explosion damaged parts of the electrified walls, allowing them to climb over. Tori, following behind, got shot and didn't make it. Tris felt sad, but they had to keep moving because Edgar's men were still shooting. Once over the walls, everything looked deserted like a fallout zone. Colored rain started falling, so they sought shelter. After the rain stopped, they kept moving until Edgar caught up with them in his vehicle and started shooting. Four shot back, hitting Edgar's accomplice, but Edgar persisted. Then out of nowhere, there was a strange opening in space, and people in a specific uniform appeared with airships. They tossed Edgar aside, greeted Tris and Four by name, and shielded them with plasma globes to protect from the toxic surroundings. They then transported them to a healthier area with more people. Everyone seemed to know Tris. A man named Matthew identified the place as the Bureau of Genetics Welfare, and they underwent decontamination. Afterward, they were each given a passcode tattooed tattooed on their arms and briefed about the Bureau's research, which aimed to give humanity control over life and death. However, this research led to a war, forcing them to confine people in Chicago and establish factions for protection. They've been monitoring their lives for the last 200 years while continuing their studies. Edgar returned to Chicago with a burnt face and reported to Evelyn. She ordered preparations for war to retrieve 4. Tris was summoned to meet the director privately. Matthew explained to Tris that much of the Earth's surface was contaminated, and they needed her and her friends' help to aid the world. During the meeting with the director, Tris admitted she was still processing everything. He reassured her, expressing his belief in her, as he had been observing her since birth. The director, David, explained that the contaminated area was called the Fringe, where damaged people lived. Those who didn't fit the perfect result of their research, like Caleb, who had too much knowledge but lacked emotions. However, Tris had the right balance. David needed her genetic makeup to assist others. He also disclosed that her mom was rescued from the Fringe and volunteered to go to Chicago for the experiment. Tris received her mother's memory tabs, allowing her to relive her mother's experiences. Tris confided everything in 4, who questioned if she trusted David. She responded that she trusted her mother. They compared their passcodes, which matched. However, when they arrived at David's office door, 4's passcode failed to open it, while Tris's worked perfectly. Tris expressed frustration about the division caused by their situation, but David assured her it was temporary. Nita was assigned to work with 4, while Peter and Caleb were tasked with monitoring Chicago and reporting any developments. Evelyn led the others out armed, with Caleb watching closely. Nita trained 4 in using the weapons from the Fringe, with the drone detecting enemies and the aid providing 3D visualization. 4 quickly mastered the use of the weapons. Tris questioned David about how they managed to bring her mom into Chicago without anyone noticing. He explained that the council had the power to do so. Once her genetic makeup was complete, they could appeal to the council for assistance in Chicago. Caleb witnessed Evelyn meeting Johanna, who had broken away from the factions with a few others and formed a legion. Evelyn and her forces attacked them, prompting Caleb to inform 4. Tris joined them in the dining room, where 4 briefed her on the situation in Chicago. She mentioned that the council would likely step in soon. 4 asked if she knew he was considered damaged while she was seen as pure. Tris replied that it didn't change anything for her. 4 expressed his distrust, suggesting that she only knew what they wanted her to know. Matthew arrived to summon her back to David. David consoled Tris about the growing distance between her and 4, but she assured him they were fine. Bureau soldiers were set to rescue more children from the Fringe, taking 4 and Chris along. At the Fringe, others began picking up children. 4 activated his drone and spotted a man fleeing with his son. He chased after them, trying to get the man's attention, but another Bureau soldier got there first, shot the man, and took his son. They returned to the Bureau, where they administered gas to the children. Chris brought the boy, whose father had been killed, to 4. The boy couldn't remember anything. Nita explained that the Bureau steals children from the Fringe, wipes their memories, and takes them to the Bureau. Back in Chicago, Evelyn killed many members of the Allegiant, prompting Johanna and the others to prepare for a fight against her. 4 and Caleb watched the events unfold. Determined to return to Chicago, 4 sought out Tris, hoping they could go back together. Using a worker's passcode, he entered David's office and informed Tris about the situation in Chicago and the Fringe. Despite his concerns, Tris insisted on going to the council with David, believing everything would turn out fine. 4 tried to change her mind, but she didn't listen and went with David. The head of the Bureau soldiers offered to take 4 back to Chicago, and after much persuasion, he agreed. Matthew also volunteered to accompany him. On their way back, the soldiers tried to kill 4, but he fought back and killed them all with Matthew's help. Their airship then crashed in the Fringe. Meanwhile, Tris and David arrived at the council's place in Providence. The council didn't want to listen to David because he had lied to them before. They allowed Tris to speak, and she explained that the factions were causing problems and that accepting everyone as they are would bring peace. The council then revealed that David was actually in charge of everything and only came to them for money, which shocked Tris. After the crash, 4 and Matthew were okay, but 4 still wanted to go to Chicago. He asked Matthew to tell David that he left him behind, but Tris would know it's not true. Matthew gave 4 his passcode and told David about their plan. Tris asked 4 for the truth, as he said she would. 4 had a hard time getting through the Fringe because of the toxic stuff and his injuries from the crash. David called Peter and told him to do something for him in Chicago, and he could have any job he wanted. Tris told Caleb to find 4 on the monitor. They found Peter in Chicago showing Evelyn some gas that could erase memories and how she used it on Marcus, who didn't remember her at all. Evelyn found 4 after her men located him. She promised to fix everything and left. 4 fought the guards and grabbed a key, but they beat him up badly. Tris told Caleb to get Chris and meet her downstairs. Then she went to steal David's airship. David alerted his soldiers about Tris's theft, but only wished them luck, not providing weapons. The soldiers tried to stop Tris's ship, but they escaped through the fringe. Once in Chicago, they rescued 4 and then went to find Evelyn. Peter convinced Evelyn that wiping memories was the only solution against the Allegiant, so they began the process. 4 pleaded with his mother to stop, fearing it would affect everyone in Chicago, including his memory of her. Evelyn managed to halt the process, but Peter shot her and resumed it. Caleb tried to stop the release from David's airship, while Chris attempted to access the control room where Peter was operating. The gas started spreading everywhere, reaching Tris and 4. Caleb informed Tris that he found a solution to stop it, but then David cut off the communication service on the airship, preventing Tris and Caleb from hearing each other. Tris went underground, but David blocked her path, closing all the doors and urging her to surrender. The detective drone spotted the source and Tris shot down the walls, halting the release. Everyone was rescued, and Caleb sent the airship back to the Bureau to save those who aided them. Peter was left stranded in the fringe. Tris sent a message to everyone about life beyond their walls, urging them to live in peace regardless of their factions. And with this, the movie series comes to an end. Thanks for tuning in, guys.